So this is amazing. Perhaps you could, as you're mobile, perhaps you could just give me a quick tour of your workshop there. What am I seeing behind you?
Oh, okay. This is just piles of synths that don't get used very much anymore. That's a vacuum tube synth.
Wow.
That was all Metasonic designs that Eric Barber released.
Yeah.
Um, this is a analog computer that was built here in West Australia in about the mid '60s, and it was built at the University of West Australia, and where I studied engineering. And I had my eye on it from day one. And then they have this like throw out table where they're chucking stuff out, and I went past one day and this was sitting on the table, and I said, "You guys chucking this out?" And they said yes. So it's been in my shed ever since.
And does it work?
Yeah, it all works. It's great. It's not the best analog computer ever. It's it's designed for education, so it's really just a bunch of integrators and mixers and some pots to do levels and stuff. There's even a nice little demonstration of an op amp in there. But yeah, it's unique, so I quite like it. This is other stuff they throw out, all these old decade boxes and things. My Leary's Universal Fuzz filter. And all this one down here, which is behind the plywood and stuff, all of this is surge clone. Back in the day, I was a maniac for building surge modules. So, yeah, I built this one about, 2018? 14, 15 years ago now, I suppose. Yeah. And there's ones up there that don't get used much at all. And my pregnant mannequin that keeps the dust out of my shed. And, yeah, I don't know. And then there's just piles and piles of circuit boards. Yeah, this is where I've always got, half a dozen things on test, and you bodging them up and soldering wires on resistors here and there and cutting traces, and that's the dead circuit box. That's my pick and place machine, which, to be honest, you can tell it's just got junk on it now because it's been set up for building sloths, but I've got a good backlog at the moment, so I don't really need to use it so much. I don't know. There's components and components and components.
And are those all old through-hole components, or have you got rid of all your backlog of old through-hole components?
No, up there's mostly through-hole.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I don't use them much, but I'm one of these characters that has a real problem throwing anything away. So, so they stay there. This is a new case I'm building at the moment to put in all those modules just thrown around on the bench and the floor everywhere. I'm not sure how many HP it is. It's probably about 200 or something.
Yeah.
This is built using this is using gutters.
Oh, wow.
Which that's $20 for these 3 gutters, and
they're the right
perfect size.
Wow.
Yeah, I just went down to Bunnings with some old Eurorack panels and went around fitting them, seeing what they would fit on, and these were perfect. So, yeah.
And then have you got rails on the front of them?
Yeah. And I just got some cheap rails and just bolted them on, and you're getting into the dark corner. Some of my old... I like collecting oscilloscopes, by the way.
Yeah.
I've got lots. And old sort of lab equipment like that.
Oh, yeah.
This is all where I keep the PCBs.
So that's your stock of PCBs?
Yeah, all this stuff. That's my shakuhachi collection. And, yeah. So, I don't know. Goes on and on. There's lots of old lab gear in here as well, all this kind of thing. And I collect vintage radios too, and more oscilloscopes. You see in the dark? Yeah.
That's amazing. I feel kind of conflicted because you've got much more space than me, which is obviously nice because it means you've got more space, but also it means you are able to just collect more things. I just can't collect things. I don't have the room for it.
Yeah, I'm actually been working hard to stop collecting so much stuff because it got a bit ridiculous. I'm climbing over things to get anywhere. So yeah, I've gotten pretty good. I've stopped because I became good friends with the head tech at the university. So whenever they were chucking gear out, he always gave me a call and said, "Well, you can come and have first pick." And so now I don't go anymore. Yeah, but I got, because I just hate seeing beautiful old electronics get chucked out as well. So yeah, I got loads and loads of stuff from them. But I also I take it to the hackerspace and hand it over to them, and they get stuck into it as well.
So I was talking to my kids this morning and telling them I was interviewing this guy in Australia this morning, and I explained that you were a doctor of chaos.
Yeah.
And perhaps you could tell me the story about your PhD and how that came about.
Yeah, I got to the end of my electronics engineering degree, and when I started, jobs were going everywhere, but I sort of also focused on analog electronics and ignored all the programming stuff, which was a bit of a niche market. But anyway, I got to the end of it, and there was basically no jobs happening, and I heard one of our professors, Herbert Yu, was into chaos, and he'd done his PhD on chaos in power supplies, as in trying to stop chaos. But he was pretty keen on it. So I went and saw him and said, "I'm interested in chaos." And he grabbed my arm with both hands. A bit of dribble came out. He was so excited the student knew what chaos was. And he really mentored me wonderfully. Like, he arranged me to get a scholarship and supervised my PhD and just really gave me free rein on what to do. So that was a wonderful 4 years, I suppose. So anyway, we developed all these memristor mimicking circuits and used them to develop new kinds of chaotic circuits. So I just got into chaos. I was reading about it pretty much daily for several years. And I've got a backlog of chaotic circuit ideas in here that I'm going to keep churning out for a while yet, I suppose. I'm not bored with it at this point.
And in terms of kind of musical and audio, I mean, how do you explain the difference between sort of random and chaos? What's the magic about the chaos for you in terms of those audio circuits or musical circuits?
I think chaos is there's a lot of sort of different ways it all works, but chaos can be very beautiful, and it's a natural occurrence, like as in we see it in nature all the time. And even what my favorite is when our neurons are at rest, they settle into chaotic orbits. So actually, when you're not thinking, your brain's in a chaotic state, and that actually allows us to comprehend complex issues. Well, most of us anyway, maybe not everybody. And so I just find chaos quite beautiful and a natural thing, and it just amazes me that we can create that in a circuit and and see how it works. But then if you dig deeper into it, I think chaos is like a boundary region between what we know and random, where we don't know what's going on. But as time goes on, that boundary will be pushed further out, and random will become, we'll understand more. What we're calling random just means we don't really know what the hell's happening. So eventually, the boundaries of chaos and randomness they'll be changing over time, I suppose. Yeah. So, but random now, like say if you use white noise as a signal source, or slowed down white noise, or filtered to get a bunch of random gates, it tends to be less interesting because it's more difficult for our brains to follow. Whereas chaos, I'm discussing this with a screwdriver in my hand. Chaos, it's unpredictable within a bounded region, so it's not all over the place everywhere. It's all over the place in this sort of area, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And does it have repetition within it? Is it cyclical? Is that part of the appeal?
It is, but it's every cycle is slightly different. It never repeats itself. Yeah. So it's always changing. You might be able to guess 3 or 4 times which way it changes, but then it'll do a zero crossing and it'll go in another direction altogether. So it's a little bit predictable, but it's also, there's an element of you don't really know what's going to happen next as well.
Which is music as well, isn't it? That definition of it's a bit predictable, but you don't quite know what's going to happen next. And so tell me a bit about so you're in Perth. Tell me a bit about the you seem to have built a DIY scene kind of single-handedly in Perth.
Okay, it's very much a team effort. If it had just been me on my own, we wouldn't have got past the first workshop, I imagine. So a lot of credit to Nathan Thompson, who he's the big organizer behind it. Didn't even know I had one of those. And yeah, so the only credit I really take for it is I show up every month, and the other part of it is that we want to have a new module every month. We've been running for over 4 years now, so it's pushed me to design at least one new module every month for the past 4 years. I'm forced to pretty churn them out, but that's been good for me too. It keeps me going, keeps my mind busy and active. Our last month we had 46 people, which was actually our biggest one ever. Probably average is 35, I think.
That's amazing, though. In a city of what, a couple of million? How many people live in Perth? It's
about 2 million.
Yeah. Because in London or Brighton, you might get a dozen people come if you're doing well. So it's amazing to see that. And even Barcelona, Bafaco in Barcelona will get 10, 15 people every week, and it's a really strong scene there. But it's amazing that scale of that many people.
Yeah, and it's not the same people every month. There's probably 3 or 4 people that have been coming from the beginning, but there's plenty that just say come for 12 months or 15 months and then they drop out. So every month there's 5 or 6 new people showing up, which is always the idea. We don't want to keep everyone coming. The idea is that they learn the skills and the basics of DIY, and then if they want to come, great, but if they want to stay home and do it and build anything they like, well, they can do it that way. And that's kind of the idea, is just give them the confidence and skills to build their own stuff. And so, yeah, we're getting 35, 40 a month, but there must be hundreds of people in Perth now with DIY synth.
And has it kind of infected the music scene and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it definitely has. I admit I had a daughter born 2 years ago, so I haven't been going out so much lately, but I do see a lot of photos of my mates at gigs and that, and there's always modular synths there now, and it's quite pleasing to see nonlinear circuit stickers on them. Yeah, it's become a real common thing. I think when I used to go out and play in Perth and take a modular synth, you get a big crowd around because most people have never seen one before. And everyone wants to come and check it out, but I think those days are long gone now. It's, oh shit, he's got the modular. Yeah.
And is it across like different genres, or is it like a big noise scene, or how does it, are all kinds of different bands using them?
Yeah, it's very broad. It goes from pop to I don't even know what it's called anymore. Dark gothic something to noise, to industrial, as techno, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty broad spectrum.
If somebody comes to you and says, "I want to buy some stuff," how do you get them started? What's your sort of gateway into the stuff you're doing?
If they want to DIY and they're starting out in DIY, I'd tell them just to get the single slot. It's probably a good place to start. It's a nice, easy build. But if they're already into modular synthesizers and they want to try some nonlinear circuit stuff, Yeah, it's chaos for you, my friend. It's it's a triple slot and the other one, if people are really not sure where to go, what they want, would be the delay no more, because that's things. You could play a whole gig with the delay no more, I think. I often do. That's the way I just end up tweaking that and not bothering with anything else. So, yeah.
And are those, so is that your kind of greatest hits? Are those the ones which are most popular or most out there?
Definitely triple sloth. I've lost track, and the single sloths, all the sloth stuff. Yeah, I've lost track how many of those have sold, but it's well over 1,000 plus now. Probably yes.
Yeah. And are there any that are your own personal favourites? I mean, I with the things I've designed, there are things that are popular, and then there are things that every time I see somebody has one, I'm really pleased because not many people have them, and it's the sort of it's a personal favourite. Do you have something like that?
Yeah, maybe the giant Bono. Yeah, that's another mad one, like Delay No More, but because it's the delay chip, the PT23999, PT2399, feedbacking a phase lock loop circuit, and so they continually abuse each other. That's it here if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's maybe one of my favourites because it's very noisy and an aggressive sort of module, but you can kind of tame it and create some nice sounds out of it. But it's also very unpredictable. It might be chaotic. I've never sat down and done the maths for it. I probably never will.
And so the other thing you were talking about briefly was about the idea of circuits that are inspired by nature. What did you mean by that?
This came about from working with Self, which was spelt CELLF. That was a giant modular synth I built with these guys at University of West Australia, and it's controlled with a little dish of human brain cells, which they live in the top of the tower, and they're growing on electrodes, and so we can communicate with these neurons. We can get the signals that they're using to communicate between themselves, and we can send synth signals into the neurons and see how they respond to that. So yeah, I got pretty inspired by that project. So I do a lot of that's where circuits like the neuron came from, and the squid axon as well.
Yeah,
I might have a squid somewhere in my pile here. The other one too would be brain custard.
Yeah.
Brain custard is 9 chaotic signals, and they're all connected up and stimulating each other in different ways. And the idea is that it creates. It's simulating a bunch of neurons in action. Each chaotic signal is like the output of a neuron, but they're also stimulating each other. And the idea is that you can sort of get patterns and melodies that are ever evolving and changing from it. But I've done this one so you can build it in a few different ways. You can build it to run at audio rates, so it's kind of it's a chaotic noise source. You can also build it to run at CV rates, and use it. You can feed it some gates to kind of get it to sync in with what else you're going, whatever else is happening in your patch. But it's another one that I suppose it simulates a natural system. The one I can't find is the squid axon. Might be some more down here. Oh, it's another tube synth, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's got cobwebs on it. That probably says something. But yeah, the squid axon, as the name says, it's literally simulating the neural network of a squid and how it sends signals down its tentacles, because the brain in the squid's quite I don't know, it has, how to put it, some of the biggest neural cells of any living being, so they're quite unusual animals, and they're favorites for scientists to study. because it's easy to observe.
What are your kind of sources of research and inspiration?
I'm not really sure anymore. Since I've left uni, it's I'm pretty much a free spirit. Um, I suppose most recently, for example, I came up with this sort of black box idea where you can it's like this kind of circuit, and inside, bear with me, you can in between the circuit boards, the LDRs, yeah, and you have it all nice and shiny on the other side, and it goes together, so you can make these giant vectorals. So I've come up with all sorts of circuits using that idea, and I've just developed a new chaotic circuit last night that uses 6 of them in there. So I suppose I don't even know where that idea came from. I can't remember. Normally, you know.
Right, I think I better let you get on. You've probably got modules to design for your next workshop.
No worries, Tom. Okay, see you then. Bye-bye.